you ready to unlock your full potential? Motivational speaker, the comeback coach, and goal crusher Joe Rivera brings you inspiring leaders, incredible stories, and valuable lessons on how you can change, grow, and reforge your life. Now, here's your host, Joe Rivera.
There's somebody out there right now who's struggled in their business, their finances, their relationship, their health, and they don't have the tools or the know-how about how to reforge their life. What's one piece of advice you could give somebody out there right now that's struggling?
Keep going. Your story's not over. Story's not over. Your story's probably just beginning.
What's up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Reforge Your Life show. I'm your host, Joe Rivera, and today y'all are going to love the guest I'm bringing to the show. She's the owner of the Dreyfuss team, Melissa Dreyfuss. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming through. I'm grateful that we're able to share the platform together. So I've heard your story, but there's no way that I have the qualification to say it the way you can. So I'd love for you to share your story with the audience.
Okay, great. Where should I start?
You start from where your heart tells you to start, girls. Your platform right now.
All right. Like the Coma. Should I start with the Coma part or my real estate part?
Start with the Coma part, because the Coma part's the story, and then we'll get to the real estate and what you're doing with all that.
Okay.
Go with the flow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know the format for this.
Well,
you're gonna edit all this, right?
Yeah. Well, my team will edit it.
Okay.
So we're gonna go through your story, right? We're gonna talk about the challenges you went through for that story for Coma, and then the comeback, and we'll kind of free flow through it. I got you.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
All right. So 3 years ago, I was on top of my game. I had so many deals, but at the time I didn't have a team.
Yeah.
So I was just working by myself. And I was feeling sick, and I was even cleaning out an investment property because sometimes I didn't hire people to do that. So I thought I was sick from that. I started having breathing problems. So I just went to urgent care one night because my best friend at the time said, I don't think I'm doing well. I was coughing a lot. He said, you're fine. It's no problem. The next day, my friend came over and she said, I don't think you're breathing right. And she gave me a pulse oximeter. And my breathing was in the 80s, dangerously low.
Wow.
So she called 911, and automatically they brought me to Stony Brook. We actually had a choice between Stony Brook and South Shore because I'm actually in between. Thankfully, went to Stony Brook, and at first they weren't taking me seriously about breathing. He said, if you could talk, you can breathe. They thought it was anxiety. So I said, I think I'm going to die here. They had me in the hallway.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the time, especially back then after COVID, they were very jaded. So that was a big reason why they weren't believing me, that it was serious. So my friend actually started fighting with the doctors that just look at her, just see what's going on. Finally, the doctors came in and they realized that I truly couldn't breathe. So they put me on a ventilator. And within 1 hour of being a ventilator, they realized that my bronchial tubes were the size of coffee stirrers. And no matter what they did, they could not get air into my lungs. So then they were faced with the choice that I was most likely going to pass away. And so the option was to put me on something called ECMO, which basically shuts down your lungs and your heart and stuff like that for them to fix the problem. And they put tubes in here. They take out your blood, they clean it, they put it back in. The problem with ECMO is there's serious side effects like brain damage. Sometimes the blood does not flow to your legs, so there's amputation. So you don't have a good shot if you do live, what could happen to you on ECMO. But if you're going to pass away anyway, it's a last-ditch effort to live. It's the highest form of life support. Luckily, I went to Stony Brook because they're the only place in Suffolk County that has 4 of those machines. So if I went to Bayshore, they wouldn't have it. And luckily, it was after COVID because all those machines were taken because people had breathing problems. They put me on ECMO, and, within a couple days, they realized I was going to live. And once they have to slowly wake you up from it, it's an induced coma. Slowly woke me up. And after I was woken up. I didn't know what was going on. They put you on, so many drugs. I was having hallucinations.
How
And
long were you in the coma?
so I was in that coma for about 5 days, ECMO. And then they slowly woke me up and I thought everything was fine. It turned out that I had blood clots from being on ECMO and they had dislodged and I had actually dropped to the ground. Then they had to put me on other stuff to, help the blood clots go away. On top of that, because my brain was shut off, I didn't know how to text or write. So then, when they gave me my phone, I'm like, I don't know how to use this. I don't know how to write. But I learned very quickly. And then they gave me exercise to use my legs again. I ended up being in the hospital for almost a month. And I will say this, being in the hospital, having all that time, for some reason, made me want to work. It gave me something that made me want to strive. Like, as soon as I learned how to text, I think it was maybe a week and a half in, right? 5 days off of ECMO, another 5 days. I started calling clients. And some of them knew that I was in a coma and some of them didn't. So they were like, oh, what's that beeping in the background? I was taking conference calls in the bathroom so they wouldn't hear the noise. And I started working in the hospital.
Mm.
I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be out soon. I'm away, or just kind of making up stuff because I wasn't sure when I was getting out of the hospital. And actually the first few phone calls, I actually could not speak because of the tubes. So it took, my voice was very strange. So I actually had my mother calling for me. But yeah, I was working in the hospital. And as soon as I got out, they didn't want me to drive. They wanted me to have a nurse. I was like, no, I'm driving. I went straight back to work. I had a lot of drive and I realized in that moment that I needed a team because if anything happened to me again, my deals were actually in limbo because when you die, your broker takes over your listing, but I wasn't dead, but I wasn't quite alive. So nobody actually really knew what to do with my clients.
Right.
It was a very, very confusing time.
Yeah, I bet. Man, there's a lot to unpack there. So, what's going through your mind when you wake up from the coma and they're telling you that, you realize you can't really move your legs, right? And you realize that they give you this phone. I mean, you knew what the phone was, right? You didn't lose your memory. Or anything, you lost
I knew.
motor
I've
skills.
lost some memories, but I knew what a phone was and
Right.
stuff like that.
So what's going through your mind that moment when you wake up from the coma?
I honestly, if you could believe this, I had so many hallucinations. One of them was I thought aliens had taken over. I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah. That's some good shit, huh?
I said, I knew it. I was like, the aliens have come and got me. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know what was real or what was fake either. So I'm like, how did I get here? Then for some reason, my last memory was a few days before. I didn't even remember going to the hospital. So I'm like, my last memory was actually being at an open house. Really couldn't have been my last memory. Like 3 days before that.
Yeah.
Just confusion all around. And there were things that in Stony Brook, some people were not professional there. Some people were not professional at all. So, I felt like because I couldn't move or talk and things like that, I wasn't able to voice my opinion about how unhappy I was with some of the staff as well. And they definitely could have done better.
Yeah. What was going through your mind in that moment? As far as like, what was the story you were telling yourself?
And it was just pure confusion. I was very happy to be alive when they told me that, you're one of the few people that actually make it out of ECMO, because a lot of people don't live through that. And that the fact that I lived through it and I didn't have severe damage, I had my limbs. Today I'm in an ECMO survivor group and I'm the only one that doesn't have physical damage. So when you see people that are missing a leg or they can't work anymore or they have vocal damage, it's like I have to be grateful. I can walk around. I can go out. One guy's bedridden.
Yeah.
I should be grateful.
Wow. That's so important for the audience to pick up on, that when you're going through a challenging time like that, what gratitude can do for you and how gratitude could shift perspective and shift energy, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like it was a big part of you being able to stay composed after, waking up and realizing, shit, I can't move my fucking leg. I can't, this phone, I don't even know what to do with this thing.
Yeah, it's strange, something that you do all the time. We shoot off text messages and type, and you're like, I have no idea. But I also, I'm a big believer in God. And I do think God had a huge hand, and my purpose for being here was not over. I saw my grandma when I was in that coma. My grandma had passed
Mm,
away, and she was very religious, and she said my time was done here.
wow.
So, and I know a lot of people in different backgrounds of religion, and they were all praying for me. And I believe the power of prayer is very, very important
Amen.
as well.
Amen.
Um, every religion you could think of. I have clients that are Muslim. I have, clients that are Catholic, all types, and everyone came together and prayed for me. My brother too. He goes to church a lot. All types of prayer circles. I think
Wow.
that really helped me get out of it and get out of it well.
Right. Well, I mean, listen, the power of prayer is definitely real, without a doubt. And also the power of what it sounds like you had was a lot of support to give
Yes.
you to help, get through those difficult times and have that strength, right? Um, what was some of the challenges that you went through other than the physical challenge?
So definitely mental challenges. Your brain is just not the same when you come out of a coma. I mean, I had severe depression that I had never had before in my entire life. I dealt with things that I was pushed to a point where I could not believe how sad I was. And I didn't know how to cope with it, and it was like nothing anyone said or did could help me. I also had something called like sort of time phobia for some reason, where time went so slow.
Mm,
And it had everything to do with that coma, just trapped in a hospital and not be able to leave, that I became scared of closed spaces or being alone at night. The mind is a fragile thing,
sure is.
so I
It's
had
a powerful thing
anxiety.
too.
Yeah. I never thought that you could feel that way until I was in a coma. When I heard people say, "Oh, I have anxiety," and I'd be like, "Oh, if they could just get out of it." You can't just get out of it.
Yeah.
You can't just walk it off. Your mind is powerful, and it plays tricks on you. And it took me, a while of reading and medicines and all types of stuff for me to break from that depression, that anxiety, and those phobias from just that experience.
What was going through your mind during the depression, the anxiety? What were you telling yourself in those moments?
I mean, in those moments, there were many times I just did not want to live. I was that sad, and I didn't understand why I had to go through what I went through. I've always had a very, very hard life. I had a very tough childhood. Even my adulthood was always tough, and it was like challenge after challenge after challenge.
Mm,
It felt like it never ended.
right.
When in my life will I get the peace I deserve?
Yeah.
Because I felt like, how much more can one person go through?
Right. Okay, God doesn't give us nothing we can't handle, right?
That's
So
true.
that's you're like, why do you trust me so much? So what? But it sounds like there was, through the moments of depression, and this anxiety, that there was a little bit of like, feeling sorry for yourself, right?
Oh yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
And because in those moments, in those dark moments, it's easy to fall into the circumstances and conditions control us before we shift on and realize that we control our own destiny, right?
Right.
So when you were going through that moment, what was happening in your life other than obviously, your physical part?
I remember when I first got out, someone said to me, is there anything you wanted to change about your life? Because maybe there's a reason why you went through this, because there's something you change about your life. And I said,
Uh,
no, I think that I do everything that I'm supposed to. And then afterwards, I realized that I was not surrounding myself with good people.
cool.
Little by little, one by one, all the friends that I thought I had disappeared. They were not there for me in my time of need. I had spent years being there for them, being an emotional crutch to them every moment, and they could literally care less, with the exception of a couple people. And so then that was the moment I realized that I had surrounded myself for so long with bad people and I never even realized. They were into things that were no good. And the minute I couldn't go out and drink and do things like that, they had no need to be around me anymore. I never realized that that was so important to them that I could be that party girl for them.
Mm, yeah. Because I mean, listen, people we surround ourselves with really dictate what our life looks like. I'm a big believer in that. Right? You surround yourself with people who create toxic energy, you're going to have toxic energy in your life, and your life's going to be draining, and you're going to have that catabolic draining energy, right? But once you start elevating your peer group, your life starts to elevate, right? So what was some of the things that you realized that was starting to change as you started to change and kind of shed those people from your life?
I mean, a big thing was I wasn't an alcoholic, but I did go out and drink and, a lot of stuff. I almost never drank after I got out of this coma.
Mm,
So the minute I stopped hanging out with them, because, you know, when you get out the hospital, they're not saying go out and drink and party and do all that stuff. I couldn't do that stuff. You know, I was on medication for the blood clots and you have to tone it down. All of a sudden I was going to sleep at 10 o'clock at night.
uh,
I never used to do that. I still do that to this day, 10 o'clock at night. Because I say to myself, there nothing good is happening after 10.
you got that right.
All right. It's all bad girl activity. So I'm good if I go to
Yeah,
bed at 10.
right, right.
So that was a big thing. Like I really don't drink anymore. It's really just a social thing.
Yeah.
Whereas not that I was an alcoholic then, but I was going out a lot. The minute I got rid of them, I pretty much got rid of a lot of bad habits. So I realized that they were never happy for me and they never cared about my success. It was a lot of negative energy.
Well, it was because I think that there's a lot of people who struggle with changing their peer group, especially when you've been around that peer group for so long, even if it creates that draining catabolic energy that creates toxic, right, in your life. So what was one of the biggest challenges you had with changing that peer group?
Oh, it was devastating for me. These are people I've known for over 20 years. If you would have told me 3 months before that happened that I would never speak to people again, I would say absolutely not.
Yeah.
How is that even possible? And yet, I've never spoken to them again. I was so close with them. We spoke every day, me and a group of people. They were my life. I considered them family. Some of them I've even lived with at different points of my life. I've, given them money, helped them out financially. I was truly shocked that they were not there for me and that, they were just so concerned about themselves and they didn't care anything about me.
Yeah.
But it's what I needed to learn. And that's the only way you're going to grow is to have these kind of experiences.
What's speaking of learning and growing, what's the biggest lesson you learned?
That you got to rely on yourself. And that sometimes, no matter how long you know a person, you don't really know them. Because I really thought that if I knew someone for 25 years, know everything about them. But people have deep, and you'll be shocked by it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And not only will you be shocked by them, but sometimes you get hurt by them, and sometimes it affects your life, right? So I'm curious to know what it looked like once you got out of the hospital, stopped drinking. What was some of the other challenges? I mean, you said you had your business where you didn't have a team. You starting to build a team. What did it look like? Because I think this is really important for the audience, right? Because I,
Right.
I went through something similar where, working on Wall Street in the financial industry, I mean, I was always the main guy, raising all hundreds of millions of dollars, making the millions, but I relied on me, and then coming into this world of coaching and speaking business and realizing that, because I tried doing it all on my own when I first started, and I realized, shit, I don't want to do it on my own. This is the struggle that you go through from having to do it on your own and learning how to let go of control was the biggest aha moment for me. and realizing that, you know what, I don't have to worry about doing the things that I don't want to do. I could delegate those responsibilities. So, what was some of the challenges that you went through on your own before you started building
I mean, a big thing was I've always had a control issue. That's why I didn't have a team before, because I like to control every little thing. And that's part of the reason why I'm successful, is because I'm very disciplined. I like to be there for every single client, every moment. But sometimes, I have to let loose a little bit.
that?
I have to let go. Um, it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing,
Yeah,
as
right.
you know. But in the end, I realize if I'm not here, who will take care of these
Yeah,
people? If I don't have anybody to help me with these
that's
things,
right.
there's only so much you can do, and you need to have a work life balance. Something I wasn't doing before this coma. I was getting up at 6 a.m. and then working till midnight sometimes.
That
It was never
burnout.
ending. I was burning
Yeah,
myself out
yeah,
to the
yeah.
point of like exhaustion. Sometimes I do it now, not to this extreme. And sometimes I have to tell myself, it's okay to let the team do more work. They can handle it. And if for some reason they can't, pick up where they left off.
Right.
You have to let them show you,
Yeah.
but they can at least.
Absolutely. And man, I'm so grateful for my team now, because you get to also, when you start delegating those responsibilities, you start to really be able to hone in on what your highest skills are.
Right.
And you get to really start, that's where you really start to unlock the potential and really start to grow to the potential that you were created to grow at. When you start trying to handle it all on your own, that growth is stunted completely, you know? Um, so what was the turning point though, that you said, you know what, enough's enough. I can't live like this anymore, because you said you went through depression, you went through anxiety, and there's a lot of people who struggle with overcoming that. So I want to make sure that we put, the magnifying glass on that. It's important for the audience to pick up on, how did you overcome that?
I mean, one of the first things I did was I actually went to a psychiatrist and a therapist.
Hmm.
And I think getting professional help is a good idea. I don't think anyone should be ashamed to go, I'm seeing someone professionally. I may need medication. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
For me, I need to seek professional help. I needed an outside party. Even though there were friends I could rely on and talk to, I need someone outside to go, hey, this is what you need to do. I like a plan.
Yes.
I like a plan in
Yeah.
business, and I like a plan in my personal life.
Love that. Important. Having a game plan to whatever it is that goal is that you have in mind is vital for success. And also being able to have someone out to not be afraid to say, you know what? Fuck, I can't do this on my own. I shit, I want help, is so important, because people think that that vulnerability is weakness, and it's really not. It's a superpower, right? It's
Right.
and being able to say that, man, you know what? I want to have somebody that knows about this more than I do to help me get to that next. I want somebody that I could talk to and kind of just let off my steam on, and they don't have an opinion, to be able to talk to them and be able to have that in my life every week. Because people think that there's got to be something drastically wrong with you to have therapy. Really don't.
Yeah, but I think too, my whole life, I've always had a problem opening up people, relationships, even friends. And I got to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have a tough time telling people I'm close with what's, and I probably won't be able to break that, or it's gonna take me a long time, and I need the professional help. I need to at least go to somebody and tell them what's going on before I really spiral. So even if you
That's
have
dope.
a tough time with telling people in your life, because I understand there's a lot of shame and guilt sometimes telling people in your life what's happening. At least the professional is not tied into your life like that.
Yeah. And what was the big aha moment? You said, "Man, I got to go get help. I can't do this."
I would say there's this thought that always crosses my mind that I will run away and move to North Dakota and leave everything
North
behind and tell
Dakota.
nobody.
North
And
Dakota,
every
huh?
once in a while, I'll Google places to live, gas stations to work at,
Right.
and tell not a soul.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's crazy. I would leave a whole business, my whole life. And then I'm like, yeah, I can't actually do that. That's nuts.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm like, all right, I gotta think realistic now.
Right. So I think that when because you actually had a belief system that you had to crack through, right?
Yes.
What was some of the limited beliefs that were holding you back?
What do you mean limited beliefs?
Like what was the story you were telling yourself? The I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve to be loved. I mean, there's so many that we could tell ourselves in those moments of depression, anxiety.
I mean, I think a lot of people feel they're not good enough. I think a lot of people have a lot of trauma from childhood that holds them back, that they feel like it's never enough no matter what
Yeah.
they do. We're all striving, I think, for me personally, to be perfect, and we're human, we can't be perfect. And no matter how good I'm doing, I don't think it's ever good enough. I'm always seeking some sort of validation.
Self-validation is another limited belief. Yeah.
And it's a constant thing. And I just need to stop and be okay with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
When you're giving your best, that's all you can do, your best.
100%. And I'm glad that you brought up that self-validation part, because self-validation could be a limited belief, but it's also a way that we self-sabotage them. And, a lot of these limited beliefs bring self-sabotage on, right? And I believe that once we crack through these limited beliefs, there's a new belief system that's built.
Right.
And when we build that new belief system, we uncover core values. And those core values are what we utilize to lean into in times where difficulty arises, more challenges come up, because just because you get through one challenge doesn't mean there's no more challenges come
always
up.
gonna
There's
be
always going to
something
be there.
else.
They're always going to be there.
It's how you handle it.
Right. And one of the ways that we do handle it is we lean into core values to be able to utilize that. Right. So I know you mentioned, one of your core values that you hold on to is spirituality, relationship with God. So what are some other core values that you hold on to, lean into in difficult times?
I mean, I think God's just a big one, and just holding on to, not using it every time something bad happens. Not saying I got to go out and drink, or I got to do, anything terrible.
Yeah.
Just sitting with it and figuring out the plan.
Hmm.
It's going to be okay. Everyone has issues. Everyone has challenges, and realizing it's all right.
Yeah, no. Focusing on something positive is important, and realizing that, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be okay. I'm going to get through this.
I also think helping others has also helped me
Being of
throughout
service.
throughout the years. I do like to donate a lot to, different causes, whether it's helping the kids for Christmas or the turkey drives,
Yeah.
donating for animals in need, a whole bunch of things. That brings so much value to my life.
Yeah.
When you realize that there are people really struggling, and I think that if we all do our part, really change the world. I don't think enough people think of others. That's part of the problem. It doesn't have to be anything big, something small. But too many people are so focused on just them.
It's really about taking it off of the me part, putting it on to how could I be of service to the world? How could I create an impact out there? And everybody's impact that they create looks different. Like, your impact doesn't look like my impact.
Right.
You know what I mean? My impact doesn't look like someone else's impact. But if we could all come together and find a way to create impact, man, the world would be such a better place.
Right. For you, public speaking,
Right.
it's changing lives. Right. For me, maybe I'm changing a child's life. Everybody's different.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But I think that it also is important for people to realize, because I'm big on philanthropy also.
Mhm.
And I think that giving back is such an important uh, need that's out there, right? It's something that I think that not enough people do, because there's a lot of selfishness that goes on around. And, we need to be more selfless and realize that there's somebody out there who has it worse than us. What we're going through isn't the end all be all. I mean, look at somebody. There's somebody out there who has it worse than you. How could you help that person that has it worse than you? In whatever way it is, whether it's like you said, giving a donation, lifting someone off their feet just by a conversation, holding the door open, saying God bless you. I mean, there's so many ways that
Small
you,
conversations
yeah,
with random strangers.
right.
If they're having a bad day, you don't know. They may have been thinking about taking their life, but now you've made them smile. They may think
Yes.
twice.
100%. And there's nothing better than when someone tells you that you had an impact on them with nothing materialistic, that you just had an impact on them from a conversation that you had with them. I mean, that right there is that's the feeling.
I think as you get older too, when I was young, I always wanted all these bags and shoes, and it was so important. As I get older, I don't care anymore about bags and shoes.
Yeah,
What brings me happiness is making other people happy.
that's right.
I really,
Right.
I don't care anymore. I wear the same stuff all the time. Probably think I'm homeless half the time. I'm telling you, the happiness for me is making others happy now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what it's all about. And that's called growth too. That's growth. When we go through, I believe that when you go through a challenge where you have a comeback story like you do, like I do, it shifts your perspective, right? It shifts your perspective and it gives you this this feeling of gratitude that really changes everything in the way you look at life, the way you go about living your life, and just showing up, right? And it's such a blessing. And Melissa, I'd love for you to tell the audience where they can find you, what you have going on right now, all that good stuff.
Well, you can find me at dreyfussteam.com. I work for Realty Connect USA. I'm an associate broker. So if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest, give me a call. I'm happy to help. Or if you need someone to talk to.
I love that. And so you do all over the island. Do you do the boroughs also?
So I do, yeah, Suffolk, Nassau, and I do Queens.
And there's a couple questions that I ask all my.
Okay.
The first one is, when you hear the word purpose, what comes to mind?
I mean, I don't know why, but a dog's purpose comes to mind. I guess because I probably saw that movie a couple months ago. No, I mean, everybody has. I'm such a jokester. It's
I
terrible.
love it. Love it.
We all have a purpose. I have a purpose. You have a purpose. I'm not sure what my exact purpose is, but I have a feeling it's to help others.
Hmm.
Helping others is going to help me grow in life. And I think most of us probably have that same purpose. We're all here for a reason.
Yeah, you got that right. There's no coincidences. Those are God
Not at all.
incidences. And it's amazing to me that I would say 99.9% of the people that I've come across, and I've come across a lot, and you guys are going to meet more throughout this journey in this podcast, but that have a story inside of them, that they had to come back. One of their biggest values is being of service and helping other people. They always say, man, our story doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the people out there we create impact with. And that right there is being of service. You are helping people right now, and you are being of service. So when you hear the word reforge, what does that mean?
Why I'm drawing a blank.
So I mean, a lot of people say repurpose, reinvent. It's like, that there's so many different ways you could look at it, about realizing that there's always a bounce back available. You always have the availability of a bounce back.
I mean, my whole life I've been bouncing back. I grew up not in a great neighborhood. I've overcome that. I made it without going to prison. I didn't die, so my whole life is nothing but lows, highs and lows.
Yeah,
So, I mean, if I could do it, I think anyone else can do it. It's
that's
just
right.
about overcoming
Yeah.
all your challenges.
Yeah, and it's also realizing that it's never too late to change. Because people say, oh, people don't change. That's bullshit. There is change.
You have to want to do it.
Yeah, you have to want to do it. You have to want to be able to peel that onion back and take stock of who you are and reinvent yourself. That's what Reforge is all about.
Right.
So there's somebody out there right now who's struggling. It's in their business, their finances, their relationship, their health, and they don't have the tools or the know-how about how to reforge their life. What's one piece of advice you could give somebody out there right now that's struggling?
Keep going. Your story's not over.
Hmm.
Story's not over. Your story's probably just beginning.
Good. Yeah, your story's not over because your creator has bigger plans for you. You weren't meant to be in the situation that you're in. You're meant to break out of it, to grow from it. So this way that you could really unlock your fullest potential.
And I also think too, in life, there is chapters where you have to learn things, and then there's other chapters where you get to enjoy things. You're not in a chapter where you get to enjoy it. That's the chapter you got to learn.
That's it. That's the growing chapter, right?
Yeah.
That pain, that agony you're going through is for a reason. It's so that you come out stronger. You come out wiser.
I also think, if you're at the bottom, at some point you'll be at the top. And if you're at the top, enjoy it while you can, because you're not going to be there forever.
Oh.
So wherever you are, it's temporary.
Yes. There's peaks and valleys in this thing we call life. That's for sure. So, Melissa, what's one thing that the audience doesn't know about you that you enjoy doing for fun?
In question. I think most people, if they're on my social media, because I'm on there a lot, I'm a huge fan of my dogs. I'm a very, very big animal lover. That's all I ever post about, other than real estate, and obviously some memes that get me in trouble.
What kind of dogs you got?
So I have a Chihuahua, Thumbelina, and I have a King Charles Cavalier Murphy.
Oh, nice. How old are they?
So Murphy is 2 and Thumbelina is 14.
Oh, it's amazing.
Big age difference.
They become part of the family.
They're I'll spend any money on these guys.
There you go.
They take all my money.
That's awesome. Melissa, this has been awesome. I knew you were going to come through, bring the energy. You did that and more, and I really appreciate being able to share this platform.
I thank you so much. You have an amazing story. We've talked before. I'm really honored to be here. We got to stay in contact.
For sure. Again. Let's do it. And for the audience out there that's watching, listening, thank y'all for coming through. Thank y'all for checking it out. And listen, man, I'm going to ask the same favor I always ask. LFSS. Like, follow, subscribe, and most importantly, share the episode, because there's somebody out there right now who's looking to reforge their life, whether it's their business, their finances, their health, their relationships, and they don't have the know-how. They don't have the tools. And you sharing this episode or past episodes can help them save their life and reforge it. So don't forget to share the episode. Stay productive, stay purposeful, stay blessed, y'all.
You've been listening to Reforge Your Life with your host, Joe Rivera. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more about Joe Rivera and how he can help you or your organization reforge your life and regain your place at the top, head on over to withjoerivera.com and follow Joe on all social platforms. The Reforge Your Life podcast was produced by Thrive Loud Productions. Thanks for listening.